Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering Brazil's dominant win over Peru. We'll discuss Tuchel becoming England manager and where does that leave United with options if they decide to part ways with Ten Hag. We'll talk about Thomas Tuchel's introductory press conference. England introductory press conference. We'll talk about Pogba insisting he's not a cheater as he seeks a return to football after having his doping ban reduced. And make sure you stick around for the end of the show where I'll be giving you my reactions to some of the top headlines going on in the soccer world. If you have a question during the show, we want to hear your input is a big part of what makes this show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $sign at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking, hit that super chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can also go to the GSMCpodcast.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We start off with Brazil. We touched on this yesterday when we did a little bit of a quick roundup of CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers yesterday. Some fabulous matches. Argentina, Messi, 5-goal contribution, 6-0 win over Bolivia. Paraguay, big win over Venezuela. Uruguay continue to drop points yet again as they drew with Ecuador. Colombia bounced back with a good win over Chile. And is there a game I'm missing? And then, obviously Brazil got a 4-0 win over Peru. Rafinha got on the score sheet, scored 2, took advantage of 2 penalties. Overall played a really good game, though. I think, he did deserve a goal from the performance. I thought he got much more involved. I thought Rodrigo got more involved in playing off that left-hand side for Brazil, which is naturally his best position, but a position that he never really gets to play, not only at the club level, but also at the international level because of Vinicius, locking up that left-hand side. But look, actually we'll get to that. But yes, so Rafinha, he opened up the score sheet with converting the penalty to make it 1-0. Then opening up the second half in the 54th minute, scored that second to make it 2-0. I think Brazil in that first half was a little bit shaky. Didn't really dominate the game, but in that second half, once they got that second goal, the confidence grew. They got numbers more forward. They looked more creative. They looked more dynamic. They looked more in control. They really looked like a high-flying side in that second half. We got individual performances that we have not seen from players like Igor Jesus, Rafinha, Rodrigo, Andres Pereira scoring a wonderful goal as well. Luis Enrique making an impact. That's what we want to see. We want to see the individuals for Brazil show the quality that they have, because at the end of the day, this is a weaker Brazilian national team in terms of the talent pool, especially in that midfield area. But there's still quality, and they should still be much better than the Perus, the Chiles, and Brazil, it was a long way from perfect, but it was a good way to get on the right track with Neymar coming back potentially for next month when they take on Uruguay and Colombia, 2 teams that are sitting above them right now in the standings. It's a good opportunity now for Brazil to use this momentum, because they did get 6 points from 6 and carry this forward. I thought, I thought some Brazil players in this game put themselves in a good. I thought Savio played a really good game. Rafinha, he was not as dominant in that Chile game as what we've seen from in that as what we've seen from him in Barcelona. But in this game, I thought he looked really favorable. Igor Jesus, I thought he looked lively. Luis Enrique, he made an impact off the bench. I thought Rodrigo played a solid game as well. I thought he got more involved as the game went on, as the confidence grew from the team. Uh, and and I'm very I'm happy with the second half performance. I do have to say the first half was a little bit of a dud, and the crowd, it wasn't really as electrified as I expected this to be, with this being a really important game for Brazil in this World Cup qualifying campaign. But in that second half, I thought the crowd grew into the game. I thought Brazil took advantage of the energy. And yeah, Brazil, dominated a team that they're supposed to dominate. And we should have seen that against Chile as well. Even going away, this is a Chile team that's sitting bottom of the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers. And I was really, really, really disappointed with the performance. But at the end of the day, they ended up managing to get the result with the winning goal from Igor Jesus or Igor Jesus. No. Igor Jesus scored the equalizer. It was Luis Enrique that got the winning goal. They were able to get the winning goal in a game that they were pretty lackluster in. And then they took advantage of this. So at the end of the day, not the most dominant of two games, but 6 points from 6 is always a successful window. Especially when you look at the vulnerable position that Brazil found themselves in entering these games, they needed these 6 points. They needed something to allow them to catapult themselves going forward with some momentum, with some spirit, and to increase the chances that they have of building this dominant team that they want to build ahead of the World Cup, so they can go for that trophy. Because always the expectation, if you're for the Brazilian national team, the expectation of any competition you're in is to win it. There's no, we just need to, we just need to excite the fans, play good football. No, always the expectation is not, and in fact, sometimes as a Brazilian national team, when it comes to the Brazilian national team, sometimes winning the trophy is not even enough. You have to win the trophy in a convincing way, in an attractive style of football. Sometimes even winning it is not even enough. You have to win it with a dominance and an attractive style of play, which is almost not just as important as winning it, but has a massive importance. Because there's Brazilians that watch a dull game, that see them get a result, and if it's in a dull game, if it's a dull final, they say that's unacceptable. This is not the Brazil that we should accept. That's the high standards that comes from putting on that badge, representing the Selecao. So I definitely think this game can be something that builds momentum going forward. When you look at the fact that that second half, there's a lot of things, a lot of positive aspects of it. Getting 6 points from 6 in this window, potentially getting the likes of Neymar back. You will be getting the likes of Vinicius back as well. I think that will allow them to have a turnaround. I think Dorviel Jr. is getting more and more in the cusp of this team as well. I thought he needed just a little bit more time after this poor Copa America that they had in the summer, and he's gotten that time now. Now all the pressure is on. The expectation is heavy. Next international window, there needs to be massive improvement. They need to go and they need to compete, not just compete with Colombia and Uruguay. They need to beat Colombia and Uruguay, because that is the expectation if you are the Brazilian national team. Now, something I do want to say, I think, if you see the continuous performances of Savio, of Igor Jesus, of Luis Enrique, if Rafinha can show us the form that he showed from Barcelona and he continues it here, if you can see Rodrigo, I believe Rodrigo playing on the left hand side today, this is almost an audition for him because this is not Real Madrid. If this was Real Madrid, Rodrigo almost has no chance of playing on the left hand side because Vinicius, he just plays absolutely amazing football for Real Madrid. But Brazil Vinicius is two different players. I think these players have an opportunity right now, and Vinicius, I don't think Vinicius has done enough in the Brazil kit that his spot in the starting 11 or on that left hand side in his strong position should be something that's locked up for him, because he's not good enough. He has not been at the level of a Brazilian national team player, of a Brazilian national team talisman when he puts on that jersey. So I do think these other players should have an opportunity to win that role. And if Rodrigo, if he plays his best football for Brazil on the left-hand side, and he's shown to be more effective on the left-hand side than Vinicius, what are we waiting? Why are we? Why are they gift wrapping Vinicius that left-hand side when he has not? When he has not earned the right to be considered a lock at that position. I really think Vinicius' position in this national team should be something that should be up for grabs, because he has not done enough with his appearances for the national team, with the goal contributions he's got in the national team. It has not been at a high enough level for him to be locked into that left-hand side. So I definitely think that is a conversation that not we, because I'm not involved, I'm just a fan, but the Brazilian national team with Dorval Jr. And the coaching staff need to discuss, because I definitely think Vinicius is shouldn't be some lockdown starting 11 playing on the left-hand side 100% no matter what type of deal, because the performances at Real Madrid he could do that because he's that that's important, that's necessary at Real Madrid because of how dominant he is at Real Madrid, but he is not that same player at Brazil. That's just the flat out truth. Show break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss United and their options if they do sack Ten Hag, with Tuchel becoming the England manager.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed Brazil's dominant win over Peru. We move on. Now, Thomas Tuchel, he has agreed to become the England manager. We know that by now. In the next segment, I'll discuss a little bit about his opening press conferences and my biggest takeaway from that. But an implication that we have of this, of Thomas Tuchel going to England, is that one of the top candidates for United, if they were to sack Ten Hag, is gone now, and I'm looking at the list of potential replacements now. it is looking really, really unlikely. Like, it's looking really, really bad, honestly. If you're looking at the other options, there's no options that are at the level of what we once thought of a United job, should attract, Was Tuchel now becoming England manager, the top options now is Gareth Southgate. He was initially the top option, but he, a few days ago now or so, basically took himself out of that race, saying he's not trying to go back into football for a period. There's a period he just doesn't want to go back into football. He does not want to be involved, something of that sort. Basically, taking him, out of a potential, opportunity to become the United manager. And, and either way, that would have been that would have been a match made in disastrous. Southgate is not at the level of a Premier League job, let alone the job of Manchester United. And you're looking at the list, though. You have, let's get rid of the dreams. I see one website, one odd maker has Zinedine Zidane at the top. Zinedine Zidane, there's been a lot of brilliant opportunities out there that he has not even considered. Why in the hell would he want to go to Manchester United? Like, in this dysfunctional of a team, there's the language barrier, there's the issue with United and the team, and why would he do that? Let's just be for real. Zinedine Zidane, he's waiting for that French job to open up for him. Other than that, he knows what he wants, and he will never entertain Manchester United. He will never entertain that club. Let's just be for real. I hear some things saying if Zidane emerges as clear-cut candidate for Man United job, but there's no possibility. Ruud van Nistelrooy. Ruud van Nistelrooy is a manager that has some first team, experience. He started off managing at Jong PSV, which is which is the reserve team for PSV Eindhoven. He moved up the ranks and he was the manager for PSV Eindhoven for a year. Had a few stints beforehand as an assistant manager here and there. Started off with the Dutch setup, being an assistant manager. Now he's with Ten Hag. He's Man United's assistant manager. And we know he's one of the top players. He's a legend for Manchester United. He was involved with that's Sir Alex Ferguson's run. He was a United striker from 2001 and 6. He had 95 goals in 150 games. It was an important part of that team. So there's history there. He knows the club. He knows what it was like with the club at the glory days. He knows the culture needed to create a team with a winning mentality. And with PSV first team at the PSV, when he was the manager at the PSV first team, he was appointed in March 2022. He replaced Roger Schmidt, and he won the 2022 the Cruyff Shield, which is essentially the Community Shield, and then the Kenvy Cup, which is essentially the a Super Cup kind of tournament. No, it's a domestic cup. And then with one match remaining of that season, he resigned, citing basically a lack of support And then a little bit later on, a year later or so, joined United on a 2-year tour to work alongside Erik Ten Hag. There's some unknowns with him. He is a great at the club, and maybe you're thinking Ole effect, but again, not a Pep Guardiola or Jose Mourinho, an Antonio Conte, not one of those world-class managers, a Thomas Tuchel, none of that you're thinking, like in previous years of United jobs came available, you would have, the pick of the bunch, you'd have managers lining up to coach Manchester United. Now you're looking at the list, you're seeing managers like Van Nistelrooy who have a, very inexperienced managing at the top level. Michael Carrick, very similar notion. Kieran McKenna, who's never really managed at the top level. Graham Potter, who did get an opportunity at Chelsea, failed miserably, was sacked within a few months, and now is sort of sitting, looking for an opportunity. You're looking, you don't see any options now. Ruben Amorim, that's an option, the Portuguese manager, but it seems like City are kind of target him of Pep Guardiola decides to leave, and it looks like a manager like him, he'll have his options. He's a manager that's that I fancied. I see people have Inzaghi a potential. Why would Simone Inzaghi leave Inter Milan to coach Manchester United? Why would he do that to himself? Inter Milan is a club that's going to battle for domestic Serie A, that have chances to make runs in the Champions League. You're going for a United team. Why would you leave that to go to a United team that's struggling to even qualify for Europe? The list that United could realistically make as potential suitors is a joke of a list of your considering the quality of managers that Manchester United would have in the past, waiting for lining up to be their manager. And I think that's a very, very concerning sign, because these managers that you see in the list, if I could come up with the word of it, I couldn't say it on here. It's that crap of a list. It's a really, really bad list, and it's a list filled with a lot of and I think there's some options here and there that could do good for Manchester United. I think Thomas Frank is a manager I really, really believe in, with his ability to get the best out of the quality of players that he has, his tactical ability of being able to set up teams to play, to set up a team that, take advantage of the opponent's weaknesses and all that notion of, Thomas. I think he could be a really good manager, but United in the past, they never, well, obviously they never had to do this because they had Sir Alex Ferguson for so long, but, United, they're not the type of club that, or any, United, Chelsea, Arsenal, they, went with this approach actually, and it turns out they ended up getting a success. But usually when these top 6 clubs go out and hire a manager, they're usually hiring a manager that's had experience, has a high quality experience in top leagues. Don't think United have those options right now, and I was thinking Tuchel is not the United manager. I don't know what direction that they go in. I really have no idea what direction there is to go in, because Thomas Tuchel, Mauricio Pochettino, in my opinion, were the 2 managers that had the most quality that was available in the summer. Both of them have springed themselves into international football to take on new opportunities, to have a new experience in terms of football management. I think that puts United now in a very, very sticky situation, because where do you go? Again, Zidane is not realistic. And Van Nistelrooy, really? Is that what United have come to? They're sort of sitting and praying with the manager? And that's a lot of these options. Van Nistelrooy, McKenna, Carrick. These are all main options. And McKenna, he's done some good things with Ipswich. I don't want to disrespect him. I think Thomas Frank is probably the best manager on that list. I think he's done some good. Thomas Frank has done some good things at Brentford. But United, they should be able to get the best in class. And this list lacks that, to say the least. And it just shows the drop-off of United, that suffered within the past decade. It's a massive, massive drop-off. And you only think it's only going to get worse with the way it's a linear equation of dropping off. You don't see it. You don't see any curve of sometimes it turning. It's a linear. Well, the camera's showing it positive actually, but I'm trying to go down. It's a linear negative slope of constant. The standards and values of the club going down, and it seems like it's just going to continue to go that way. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss Thomas Tuchel's England's introductory press conference.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we discussed Manchester United's options if they were to sack Ten Hag. We move on to discuss Thomas Tuchel's. Every time I say Thomas Tuchel's name wrong, I always say Thomas Tuchel. It's Thomas Tuchel. But yes, Thomas Tuchel. He did his opening press conference for England, and there was a little bit of a little, what's the word? Little quotes here and there that we could analyze. It was interesting to hear, his insights on how he came up with the decision, his belief, and what he wants to build with England. And the expectations and all that. He seems like, just watching the press conference, he seems excited for this opportunity. I think he understands that he is gonna come from under immense pressure. But I think he's a manager that's excited for this opportunity, that's excitement for the element of doing something new. I think he's excited to be back in England, number one. He's talked about in the past how he enjoyed, English football when he was at Bayern. With some of the criticism coming, he talked about how, he liked it better in England. There was, he said, I'm very excited and honored to be here as, new head coach of England. He also answered questions on fans preferring an English coach, saying, I'm sorry, I just have a German passport. I love to live here. Hopefully I can convince them and give everything to the role. He was also asked, and I thought it was a weird question that they would ask this, but they asked him if he would sing the national anthem, and he said, I understood from Mark, when he refers to Mark, he's talking about Mark Bullingham, who's part of the is the FA Chief Executive Officer. He said, I understood from Mark, it is a personal decision. There were some who sang and others didn't. I have not made my decision. I have not made my decision yet. Your anthem is very moving. Don't think that came across his mind at all. Yet, just me personally, I don't think that's something that comes across your mind within the first 24, 48 hours of signing a contract to manage a national team. That's just me. And look, Thomas Tuchel, he faced a lot of difficult questions. It was a really, really jammed press conference, and he was asked, there was a lot of things he had to manage, the not being English factor, the national anthem, the length of the contract, why it was only an 18-month contract. He was discussed Harry Kane and captaincy, and he also was asked about the rumors of United. And look, I think all of this was a good warning for Thomas Tuchel to, managing England and managing Chelsea is different. It's different. Yes, you're back in the English media, which could be different, but when you're managing the England national team, it's a completely different thing, and the pressure's gonna be really, really long. He said, I'm very proud to have been given the honor of leading the England team. I have long felt a personal connection to the game in this country, and it has given me some incredible moments already. To have a chance to represent England is a huge privilege, and this opportunity to work with this special and talented group of players is very exciting. When he was asked about Harry Kane, let's get to that. Actually, I couldn't find the quotes. He asked when he was asked whether he spoke with Harry Kane before taking the England job. He said, for taking the England job, and whether he'll still be captain under his management. Thomas Tuchel said, it's too early to answer these kind of questions. Speaking on whether Kane will remain the England captain, you know how highly I think and feel for Harry and how much effort I made to bring him to Bayern Munich. He is already on his way to being a legend in English football, but now I think it's very important to give the respect to Lee and the upcoming camp in November to take his decisions free and without me interfering. And then we will answer this question at the latest in March. He also said he didn't speak with anyone outside of the hiring process before taking the job. He said, I did not speak to Harry and I did not speak to Gareth. I never normally do this. I want to get my own points of view and let it sink in and reflect on it. So, there's a lot of different tidbits there. He's also, it's going to be a delayed start. He's not going to start in November. Lee Carsley will still be the interim manager, and Thomas Tuchel will get this long break, and he'll start his reign in March, which I don't have huge issues with. Huge issues with that aspect of it, with Lee Carsley managing one more international window, because this next international window is going to come like that, and Tuchel, he's really going to only have 2 weeks and 2-3 weeks to already make a squad. I don't think that's really enough time to properly evaluate the whole squad. I think him being an observer, being around, overseeing everything, maybe being involved with Lee Carsley, trying to work out what players are getting called up, maybe there's specific players that Tuchel wants to see. I think that's good aspects of it. Obviously, I think this is a good fit. I think Thomas Tuchel is a great manager. I said this yesterday. Thomas Tuchel is a manager that, yes, he's a very, very good cup manager, but he's a manager that is willing to make the game a dirty game to win the game. And when I say that is, look, in Gareth Southgate, he was naturally a pragmatic manager. In England, they became very hard and pragmatic to watch under him. Well, Thomas Tuchel, especially, with that Chelsea team that won the Champions League, it's not the most forward-thinking team. But the thing with Chelsea is that, or the thing with Thomas Tuchel's team is, yes, they, they'll be very, very compact when they don't have the ball. The holding midfielders, the double pivots, they'll cover up holes in between the center halves and fullbacks, and they'll be really tight and really compact. But once they get the ball, they're able to expand and create opportunities still and still look like a proper team. Like they're able to play out of certain areas where the pressure is on them. Problem with England under Gareth Southgate is many times they've been sucked back, and once they gain the ball back, they don't know how to get out of that initial pressure, and it's a never-ending cycle until eventually they concede. I think the thing with Tuchel is he has more tactical flexibility that, they'll be able to defend really, really well and in certain moments be compact when they need to, but they'll be able to counter off of that and still be able to create opportunities despite not having a dominant amount of possession and not putting a crazy number of players forward and playing the game way up the field. I do think I discussed, I said this yesterday. Again, look, 25 years of now, if England win the 2026 World Cup, they're not going to take fans are not going to, not acknowledge the trophy because the manager was not English. Like, let's be for real. You want to get the best manager in class. I saw some of the, comments coming from Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville afterwards, saying they're shocked and it's utterly this. I'm like, do you want the, and the Gary Neville one is completely contradictory. Like, he starts off with the statement saying Thomas Tuchel, they got a brilliant manager, a really, really good manager, but he's not English. It's against the spirit of St. George's or whatever nonsense he would say. Like, you want to be in a pot of mediocrity with the England national team for the rest of your lifetime? Do you want to see the England national team win a trophy in your lifetime? If you do, you need to check your pride at the door. The English managers at this day and age, they are not good enough to lead England to the promised land. The English fans, the English pundits, they need to come to that realization. Their managers are not good enough. The England women team, they got a foreign manager. They won trophies. They've won a trophy now. The England cricket team, the England rugby team, they've had foreign managers, and it's allowed them to do really, really well. So, it's something that it's a non-starter for me, honestly. I really think that reasoning I shouldn't even be a reasoning, in my opinion. This whole notion that foreign managers can manage other international teams. Why? Why not? Why can't a foreign manager manage another national team? It's not the same. Don't compare managers to players. It's two different things. It's completely two different things. In terms of within the spirit of football, obviously, you have to be from the country to play for the country. Yeah, that's one thing. But to manage the country, to be the overseer, for me, that's two different things. Two different things. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will do a full reaction to Pogba doing the showing himself not showing himself, but making some public comments for the first time in a long time, getting interviewed since that doping ban, and he has some interesting things to say. So yeah, short break coming up.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed Thomas Tuchel's England introductory press conference. We move on to to react to Paul Pogba. He has came out and done a little bit of a media tour, talking to some major media outlets. He spoke with, I believe he did interviews with ESPN. I think he was on Sky Sports as well, if I'm not mistaken. ESPN, Sky Sports, ESPN, Sky Sports, and doing he has not done much public appearances since the initial doping ban was released, the 4-year ban. He did have some statements that he made, but he didn't really do any interviews. But now, with the doping ban being reduced from 4 years to 18 months earlier this month, when the Court of Arbitration for Sport accepted that his ingestion of the banned substance was not intentional, look, speaking of, by the way, the thing being non-intentional, obviously what you put in your body, you have to know what it is, you have to be able to control it, all that. But if they're able to come up with that, what he did was not intentional, if there was enough evidence and they firmly believe that it was not intentional, then I still think, the fact that it took this long to come to that conclusion is issue number one. Number two, still think 18 months is a little bit too long. If it's really not intentional, because at the end of the day, I really doubt the fact that Paul Pogba would be stupid enough to ingest something, to take something that he knows could potentially literally end his career. Because let's be honest, he spoke about it throughout these interviews. That 4-year ban, that essentially would have ended his career. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, you have to control what you take. You have to control what you're eating, control any drug that you might be taking, and but it was able to get reduced. So he will be I think he's supposed to come a little bit, within March of 2025, something of that sort. He was suspended by Italy's National Anti-Doping Tribunal, NADO, in February. With the drug test, they found the elevated level of testosterone, which is a hormone that increases endurance in the system. Pogba, when he was speaking with, I believe this was when he was speaking with Sky Sports, he said, "This is not me. I am not a cheater. I'm someone that loves my sport. I love the game, and I would never ever cheat. I like to win fairly. I'm a bad loser, but I'm not a cheater. I take some responsibility because I took the supplement. I didn't triple check. Let's say it like that. Even if it comes from a professional, if I have to be punished, I'm fine with it. But it should never be 4 years. And honestly, if it's accidental, in my opinion, it should never be 18 months. If it's accidental, if it's something that was prescribed by a at the end of the day, he's not a doctor. He's getting something prescribed by a professional. He's not gonna read every single little drug to make sure, there might not be something wrong. Again, even when he says I didn't triple check, he's insinuating that this is something that he's careful over. If it's something that he's is careful over not taking something, something illegal in the footballing world. But now Pogba, but I'm just happy that Pogba, because this is obviously this is a very, very, very difficult thing to go through mentally. Being, taken away from what you do, how you feed your family, how, he was a brilliant, or he still might be. We don't know yet. We haven't seen him play for a long time, but he is a brilliant footballer and one of the best midfielders in the world. That's, had a little bit of issues in here keeping that consistent level within the club form. But every time he puts on that jersey for the national team, he's a brilliant world-class player because he's a world-class talent. But, and then when you're in the process of that, and, first there was a little few injuries here and there when he returned to Juventus, and then you get this ban for 4 years, not knowing. You're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be back playing football till I'm 34 to 35 years old. He said, will clubs even want me? I'm thinking this, I'm trying to count down, I'm thinking age, all that. It's just a deep mental funk you can go through. And, when you're in that period, and it's something that would have essentially ended his career. But then, with the Court of Arbitration, they've, came down and cracked it down to 18 months, which is still a very, very long time. And it's still a difficult comeback to make because, it's looking likely that he's probably not going to be a Juventus player whenever he makes the return. He's currently right now as a Juventus player, but it seems like Pogba wants to stay. Apparently, I'm seeing reports that... I'm seeing reports that he says that he'd be willing to give up money to play at Juventus. There was a high important journalist. I said a little bit of his name. I think you know who I'm talking about. Reported that Pogba and Juventus, they're trying to agree to terminate the contract. But the 31-year-old, he's weighing all his options before making any decisions. When he was asked where Pogba wants to play, he said, for sure Juventus. I want to start training with my teammates, and I'm willing to take a salary cut to stay at Juventus. I feel like if Pogba could really get, if he could get back to what he was, before this ban, he could be a valuable asset for Juventus. But Juventus, they seem like they're going in a little bit of a new direction now, being managed with by Thiago Motta, doing a little bit of an overhaul. Maybe they want to, maybe they're just saying, okay, this Pogba thing, this experience is over. Let's just move on from this experience. Let's get all the money out, because we need to start, building something for the future. And they just want to do a little bit of a recycle. But I do think, Pogba could give Juventus, that world-class player that they don't have right now. Juventus lack those, lack that real star quality in the team. I think Paul Pogba, the quality will always be there. The talent will always be there. It's just, can he get the fitness levels back? Can he get the consistency back? But the technique doesn't go away. His ability to play in tight spaces, his ability to hit any, to make any pass in the pitch, long range, medium range, short range, left foot, right foot, play a ball, diagonal ball, line breaking ball, that quality will not go away. His flexibility to play in multiple positions will not go away. It's just the consistency. Will he be that consistent player that he was before? That's the big thing to that, and if I'm Juventus at the end of the day, before making any decision, I'd like to, because they don't get to see him at training during this period. They don't really get an opportunity to see him at training. If I'm Juventus, I'm trying to hold off. I'm giving him, the rest of this season. Let him come back in March. Let's get to see him in training. And then before you make any decision, get a chance to see him. Because, Juventus have not seen him play since 2022. Because once you get suspended for this, you're not allowed to go to the facility and train with the team. You're isolated. You're training alone, which is also another, when I said this This is something that's a mentally tough thing for Pogba to go with. Having to train alone, be away from his teammates, being isolated, not having that coaching staff, not having the support of your teammates to help you going through this difficult time. It's a thing that requires a lot of mental toughness. And, if he's able to battle off out of this, I salute him, because that's a very, very difficult journey that he's been on. And we'll see. Look, I hope that Pogba, can get back to playing football, because I miss him, and he has some quality. He's a really, really good player, and a lot of people have forgotten that because we just haven't seen him play in a really, really long time. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll do a reaction to some of the top headlines going on in the soccer world. Before the break, we discussed Paul Pogba insisting he's not a cheater as he seeks a return to football after the doping ban being reduced from 4 years to now a year and a half. We move on to react to some of the top soccer headlines, and we have to start off with the U.S. men's national team opponent in the next international break for their Nations League quarterfinals has been revealed, and they'll be taking the likes of Jamaica on, which probably is the most difficult team that they could face in the quarterfinals. The other options was Suriname. Who was the other options? It was Suriname. There was Costa Rica and Honduras. Yeah. Suriname, Costa Rica, Honduras. Or I believe that's the other three options. And or Panama. But the US draw Jamaica. Obviously Jamaica is a team now being managed by Steve McLaren. So there's an unknown element to them. With what Steve McLaren is trying to create at Juventus, at Jamaica. This is a Jamaican team that has quality all over the pitch, has some players with some technique, has a good combination of athleticism and technique. The U.S. men's national team now have suffered a lot of injuries, and Folarin Balogun, Sergino Dest, Chris Richards most likely. These are players that are not going to be available in the U.S. men's national team. We saw them this international break. They're very, very thin. That Jamaica game is going to be, a must-win quarterfinal now. It's going to be big expectations for Pochettino, because that's when he'll really be judged. Are these competitive games? That's a difficult. I'm not gonna lie. In my opinion, that will be difficult for the U.S. men's national team because of the sheer injuries, the sheer load of injuries that the U.S. men's national team players have. you know, are going through right now, they need to pray that Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie, because McKennie is also a player that has suffered a muscular injury in the last few days. These are, they have to, not they don't have to, but they're vital for the USMNT against Jamaica with the injuries with Gio Reyna, Sergino Dest, Chris Richards, Falarin Balogun. We think Timothy Weah should be available, but a lot of these players that weren't available in this window, we don't know for sure if they'll be back. So that could be a very, very difficult outfit for the U.S. men's national team. I do have to say that's something that could be really, really interesting. As far as the Nations League, the rest of the fixtures was revealed. Mexico get to take on Honduras. Canada, they move up the FIFA rankings with their win in their friendly with the combination of US losing to Mexico. It was based on FIFA rankings on why Canada were playing Suriname instead of Jamaica. So Canada will be playing Suriname, and then Costa Rica playing Panama. That will be the Nations League quarterfinals. Chelsea have reportedly blocked Liverpool scouts from attending academy games at Cobham. According to some major sources, Chelsea have turned down accreditation requests from Liverpool and Manchester United scouts, which raised concerns about the tensions amongst those top academies. Liverpool have accused Chelsea of being the first to make these sort of restrictions, but Chelsea have denied those allegations. Liverpool have also claimed that Chelsea scouts have never been blocked from attending games on Merseyside, and that they're essentially sending a warning out to Chelsea that they will that they'd have to apply for access in the future, and their applications are going to be denied in terms of retaliation. It's been suggested that Chelsea has started doing this because of Liverpool trying to poach their the Cobham 16-year-old starlet Rio Nugamoha, who's widely regarded as one of the most promising players to come out of Cobham for a few years now. And after that, he was lured to Kirkby. Chelsea were very, very frustrated from that. Very, very frustrated with that they were able to, to sign Rio Nugamoha, which is a player that Chelsea really saw really saw potential. He was a really highly rated youth player. So yeah, obviously I don't. I think that's really weak for Chelsea to do that. But look, that's something. You have to, because at the end of the day, you will take advantage of your opportunities as well when you're sending your scouts. You don't want to annihilate, your other teams and ruin the relationship, because you'll have your opportunities to take advantage to, lure players from the United Academy, from the Liverpool Academy, from the Tottenham Academy, from the Arsenal Academy. So you don't want to, bridge a relationship there that is just unnecessary. I don't understand. Sometimes Chelsea, certain things that they do, and these are all things that I blame from the top. These sort of things never happened before this new ownership group came in. Never, ever, ever happened. But yeah. Canada's women's national team, obviously they had an issue at the Olympic Games with the whole Spygate and all that, Spygate 2.0. Now, the Canada Soccer has revealed an interim coaching staff for the women's national team because the Bev Priestman still is suspended after the Olympic spy drone scandal, in which FIFA suspended Priestman for 1 year due to offensive behavior in violation of the principles of fair play. Because of the drone controversy there, the IOC and the Canadian Olympic Committee also, were very involved with that. And in my opinion, I think this sort of incident gets even more exasperated, I can't say any words today, with the Olympic Games, with the fact that it's in the Olympic Games, because in the FIFA Women's World Cup, there's a scope there, right? But when it's the Olympics, everybody, all sports are all coming together and all the eyes are on you. And when you do something like that, and when you become on the headlines, like when you get on the Olympic headlines for something like that, it just makes it a little bit worse. And then now this sparked a bigger investigation in which TSN was able to release a report that alleged that Canada men's and women's soccer team have done this for a very, very long time. There's a lot to unpack there. We just don't have time to do that here, though. Short break. Thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. So thank you once again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.